Every year, millions of people over 50 begin to feel the same quiet decline. They tire faster, their muscles ache more, their sleep worsens, and their motivation slowly fades. Most think it's just aging, but for many it's something much simpler and far more fixable than that. Doctors now recognize that one of the most common, yet most overlooked causes of poor energy, weak immunity, and muscle pain in adults over 50 is vitamin D deficiency. It's been called the silent epidemic because it hides behind symptoms that don't seem related. Vitamin D isn't just a vitamin. It acts like a hormone, controlling more than 2,000 genes in the body. It affects how your immune system fights infection, how your muscles contract, how your brain regulates mood, and even how calcium builds your bones. But as we age, everything about vitamin D production gets weaker. The skin converts less sunlight, the kidneys activate less of it, and most people spend far less time outdoors. The result is that a huge percentage of adults, especially those living in northern climates or with darker skin, are chronically low without realizing it. In fact, studies show that up to 80% of seniors have suboptimal vitamin D levels, even if their routine blood tests look normal. The consequences build slowly. The immune system becomes sluggish and confused. Muscles lose tone. Bones become softer and more prone to microfractures. And the brain, deprived of the hormone-like effects of vitamin D, struggles with mood, clarity, and motivation. It's a deficiency that doesn't scream, it whispers. And most people only recognize it once real damage has already been done. Doctors say the first warning signs are often dismissed. You might notice unusual sweating on your head, mild depression during winter, or sudden anxiety that comes out of nowhere. These seem unrelated, but all share one root cause: a lack of vitamin D in the nervous system. Your brain needs vitamin D to manage serotonin and dopamine, two key neurotransmitters that control how calm, motivated, and resilient you feel. When D levels drop, so does emotional stability. That's why low D often mimics anxiety disorders or seasonal depression, and why antidepressants sometimes fail to help unless vitamin D levels are corrected first. Then there's physical weakness, another early warning sign. If you've started noticing pain in your hips, thighs, or lower back, or difficulty standing up from a chair, it might not be your joints at all. It could be osteomalacia, a softening of bone tissue that comes directly from vitamin D deficiency. The pain is usually dull, deep, and often mistaken for arthritis or sciatica. Even the skin and immune system start to show signs. You may catch colds more easily, take longer to recover, or feel off for weeks at a time. Vitamin D regulates how immune cells respond to viruses and bacteria, and without it, inflammation tends to linger. What makes this deficiency so dangerous is how common it is and how slowly it develops. You can live for years with low vitamin D and never suspect it's the reason you're tired, stiff, or foggy. And because routine blood tests often use outdated reference ranges, many people are told their results are fine, even when their levels are too low for good health. Doctors who specialize in nutrition now aim for blood levels around 60 to 80 nanograms per milliliter, not the bare minimum of 20 to 30 that most labs call normal. That's the range where the immune system stabilizes, bones rebuild properly, and mood begins to improve. So how do you know if you're low? The answer starts with recognizing the body's early warning signs, the physical and emotional clues that your cells are running without one of their most critical nutrients. In the next section, we'll break down the subtle but important symptoms, the strange signals your body gives off when vitamin D levels fall too far. Vitamin D deficiency doesn't always show up as something obvious. It can appear in ways most people never connect to sunlight, diet, or supplements. The body gives clues, small, persistent, easy-to-ignore symptoms, that something deeper is off. One of the earliest signs doctors notice is unusual sweating, especially on the head. Many older adults find that their scalp starts to sweat more easily, even when the room isn't warm. This happens because vitamin D plays a key role in regulating the hypothalamus, the part of the brain that controls body temperature. When levels drop, that thermostat becomes unstable. You might wake up sweating at night or feel overheated during the day for no clear reason. This same imbalance can also cause night sweats, which are often mistaken for hormonal changes. In reality, they often reflect a nervous system that's struggling to stabilize itself because vitamin D is too low. Another hidden symptom is constant low mood or mood swings. Vitamin D directly affects serotonin, one of the main neurotransmitters that controls happiness and emotional stability. When you don't have enough vitamin D, serotonin production slows, and your brain becomes more sensitive to stress. It's why depression, anxiety, and winter blues are all linked to low sunlight exposure. For people over 50, these emotional changes can sneak up slowly. A loss of interest in things they used to enjoy, more irritability, or trouble handling normal stress. It's not weakness or aging. It's a biochemical imbalance that can often be corrected with proper supplementation. A related effect is loss of motivation or drive. Vitamin D helps activate dopamine receptors in the brain, the same system that gives you the push to get up and do things. Low vitamin D flattens that drive, making it harder to start the day or feel enthusiasm even for small tasks. It's one of the main reasons deficiency is sometimes misdiagnosed as mild depression. There's also a link between low vitamin D and panic or anxiety attacks. When vitamin D is low, the adrenal glands can become overactive, releasing too much cortisol and adrenaline. This constant chemical tension can lead to racing thoughts, sudden waves of anxiety, or heart palpitations that seem to come out of nowhere. Doctors have observed that raising vitamin D levels often calms the nervous system naturally, reducing these stress reactions without the need for extra medication. And then there are the muscle twitches or spasms that appear in the face, legs, or hands. They might seem random, but they're actually caused by calcium and magnesium imbalance, both controlled by vitamin D. Without enough vitamin D, calcium can't move properly into muscles or bones. The result is stiffness, trembling, or small spasms that come and go, often worse at night. These symptoms are not separate issues. They're connected threads of the same deficiency. The nervous system, the brain, and the muscles all depend on vitamin D to communicate clearly. When the signal weakens, every system starts to send distress signals in its own way. What makes these signs so often ignored is that they don't feel serious at first. People assume sweating is from age, fatigue from stress, and anxiety from life's pressures. But over time, the pattern builds. You start noticing that your sleep is lighter, your energy is lower, and your recovery from illness is slower. When all these small issues appear together, muscle cramps, restless sleep, random anxiety, poor mood, or head sweating, that combination points strongly toward vitamin D deficiency. By the time the body begins to ache, the bones to weaken, or the muscles to lose strength, the deficiency is already deep. That's when the problem moves from discomfort to damage. When vitamin D levels stay low for too long, the effects move beyond mood or energy. They start showing up physically, in your muscles, bones, and daily strength. These are the signs most people over 50 feel, but rarely connect to vitamin D. One of the most common is deep, dull pain in the hips, thighs, or lower back. Doctors often see this in patients who assume they have arthritis or sciatica. But when imaging shows no joint damage, the real issue is usually osteomalacia, a softening of the bones caused by chronic vitamin D deficiency. Unlike osteoporosis, which thins the bones, osteomalacia makes them bend slightly under pressure. The pain comes from tiny stress fractures that develop as bones struggle to bear normal weight. It's why people often describe it as pain deep inside the bone. If you notice persistent soreness in your hips, pelvis, or ribs, especially after long walks or standing, that's one of the clearest physical signs your body is low on vitamin D. Another major warning is loss of muscle strength. Vitamin D helps your muscles absorb calcium and contract efficiently. When levels drop, muscle fibers lose power and coordination weakens. It's why older adults with low vitamin D are far more likely to have trouble climbing stairs, standing from a chair, or maintaining balance. Research shows that simply restoring vitamin D can significantly reduce fall risk in seniors, not by building muscle mass, but by improving how muscles respond to nerve signals. A simple test often tells the story. If standing up from a seated position feels harder than it used to, or if you've started needing to hold on to furniture when walking, your muscles may not be getting enough of the nutrient that keeps them working correctly. The next issue is joint stiffness and lingering pain. Low vitamin D allows inflammation to build up in connective tissue, the cartilage and ligaments that cushion movement. Many people mistake this for early arthritis, but it's often a deficiency-related inflammation that improves once levels are corrected. Because vitamin D helps regulate immune cells, a lack of it can make those same cells start attacking the body's own tissues, especially in joints and tendons. That's why doctors often recommend vitamin D as part of the management plan for autoimmune joint problems. Not as a cure, but as a stabilizer for the immune system. Another overlooked symptom is slow recovery from exercise or injury. Without enough vitamin D, the body struggles to repair micro tears in muscles. You may find that normal activity leaves you sore for days, or that small injuries take longer to heal. This happens because vitamin D controls how cells rebuild tissue and manage inflammation during recovery. Then there's postural fatigue, the quiet muscle exhaustion that makes it hard to stand for long periods or maintain good posture. People often assume it's due to age or poor fitness, but in reality, the muscles simply aren't generating enough energy. Vitamin D affects mitochondria, the tiny power plants in each cell. When vitamin D is low, those mitochondria underperform, leading to weaker muscles and faster fatigue. Over time, the entire skeletal system is affected. Calcium absorption drops sharply without vitamin D, forcing the body to pull calcium from the bones to keep blood levels stable. That's why long-term deficiency doesn't just cause pain. It literally erodes bone structure from the inside out. If this goes unchecked, it sets the stage for fractures, even from minor falls or bumps. This process is slow and silent, often taking years before the damage is visible on a scan. But the early signs, deep bone pain, loss of strength, poor recovery, are already the body's way of asking for help. When you start noticing these symptoms together, it's no longer just a warning. It's your body saying its foundation is being stripped away, one cell at a time. The good news is that this decline is completely reversible once vitamin D levels are restored. The bones can rebuild, muscles can regain strength, and energy can return to normal. Low vitamin D doesn't just make the body weaker, it also drains the mind. As deficiency deepens, energy production slows, concentration fades, and memory feels less sharp. Many older adults describe it as just getting tired faster or not thinking as clearly, but what's really happening runs much deeper. Vitamin D helps power the mitochondria, the part of every cell that turns food into energy. When your body doesn't have enough vitamin D, these mitochondria start to malfunction. They produce less ATP, the molecule that fuels your muscles, brain, and organs. The result is a steady, unexplained fatigue that no amount of sleep or caffeine can fix. This isn't the usual tiredness that comes after a long day. It's a deeper kind of exhaustion, where even small tasks start to feel overwhelming, and you wake up in the morning already tired. Doctors often see this pattern in older adults who assume it's part of aging, when in reality it's a sign their cells are running on empty. Another major effect is mental fog and slow thinking. The brain is highly sensitive to changes in vitamin D because it relies on it to produce neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and acetylcholine, chemicals that control focus, alertness, and mood stability. When vitamin D is low, communication between brain cells weakens. People start forgetting small details, losing words mid-sentence, or feeling mentally foggy. It's not dementia, but it can look and feel like early cognitive decline. Vitamin D also reduces inflammation in brain tissue. Without it, the brain becomes more vulnerable to oxidative stress, a form of internal rusting that damages neurons over time. That's why researchers have found that chronic low vitamin D is strongly linked to faster cognitive decline and higher risk of memory problems in older adults. There's also an energy link that most people don't realize. Vitamin D helps control the strength of the immune system. When levels fall, the immune system becomes unstable, too weak to fight infections, yet too aggressive in creating inflammation. This constant low-grade inflammation doesn't always cause pain, but it quietly drains energy day after day. People feel run down all the time, even though their lab tests look normal. In some cases, low vitamin D even allows old viruses, like the Epstein-Barr virus, which causes mononucleosis, to reactivate. That's one reason chronic fatigue can appear suddenly in older adults after an illness or stressful period. Restoring vitamin D helps calm this hidden inflammation, allowing the body's energy systems to recover. When inflammation drops, oxygen delivery improves, the heart pumps more efficiently, and the brain regains its sharpness. One of the most overlooked signs of vitamin D deficiency is poor sleep quality. Vitamin D helps regulate melatonin, the hormone that tells your body when to rest. Without enough D, your sleep cycles become erratic. You may fall asleep easily but wake up several times through the night, or you may find yourself unable to sleep deeply at all. As sleep becomes fragmented, fatigue builds even faster, reinforcing the cycle of low energy and mental fog. Many people blame this on stress, but the real cause often starts at the cellular level. Once vitamin D levels are corrected, sleep patterns gradually stabilize and the body begins producing melatonin naturally again. The mental and physical fatigue caused by vitamin D deficiency can be devastating over time. It doesn't just reduce quality of life, it increases the risk of falls, depression, and long-term cognitive decline. But it's also one of the most reversible conditions in modern health. With proper supplementation and support nutrients like magnesium and vitamin K2, energy levels can rebound in weeks, not months. When the body finally gets enough vitamin D, it's like flipping a switch. Energy returns, the mind clears, sleep deepens. And for many older adults, it's the first time in years they feel like themselves again. When vitamin D levels fall too low, the body starts to misread its own hunger and energy signals. People often notice that they crave food more often or never feel satisfied after eating. This isn't about appetite alone, it's about hormones. Vitamin D helps control leptin, the hormone that tells your brain you're full. When vitamin D is deficient, leptin doesn't reach the brain clearly. Your body thinks it's starving, even when you've eaten enough. This is why many adults over 50 gain weight or develop blood sugar swings despite eating normally. The issue isn't willpower, it's chemistry. At the same time, low vitamin D makes insulin less effective. That means sugar stays longer in the bloodstream, creating fatigue after meals, midday crashes, and constant snacking to keep energy up. Over time, this pattern increases the risk of type 2 diabetes, not because of excess sugar alone, but because the body is missing one of the key regulators that keeps metabolism stable. This hormonal imbalance connects directly to fatigue and mood. When the body loses its ability to sense nourishment, it stays in a state of stress. Cortisol rises, appetite remains high, and energy remains low. Many people try to fix this with diets, but until vitamin D is restored, the system never resets. That's why doctors now consider vitamin D not only a nutrient for bones, but a hormone for total balance, influencing the brain, immune system, metabolism, and even the way we store fat. Recovery begins with the right combination. Vitamin D3 is the usable form, but it needs partners. Magnesium activates it. Vitamin K2 directs calcium to the bones instead of the arteries, and zinc helps immune cells respond correctly. Without these, D3 can't do its full job. For most adults, daily intake between 5,000 and 10,000 IU of vitamin D3 is considered safe and effective, especially when combined with these cofactors. Blood testing is simple and can confirm whether your levels are in the optimal range, around 60 to 80 nanograms per milliliter for full protection. With consistent supplementation, energy often returns within weeks. Muscles recover faster, sleep deepens, and focus improves. For many, it's the difference between dragging through the day and feeling genuinely strong again. The larger truth is that vitamin D deficiency has become a reflection of modern life. Too much time indoors, too much processed food, too little sunlight. But the solution isn't complicated. It's about giving the body what evolution designed it to have: sunlight, nutrient balance, and daily movement. When those elements return, the body repairs itself, the immune system quiets down, bones rebuild density, the mind steadies, the fatigue that once felt permanent begins to lift. For older adults, this can mean a second wind, a return of strength, appetite for life, and mental clarity that many thought was gone for good. The science is simple, but the impact is profound. The difference between decline and vitality can come down to one overlooked hormone, the one your body was built to make every time sunlight touched your skin. If you believe knowledge can save lives, share this video with someone you care for and subscribe to. Stay informed with the latest medical insights.